In this lecture, we will conclude our discussion on intellectual property and artificial intelligence. We're going to come full circle by discussing a few case studies. Most of these are ongoing cases, and so we don't yet have a resolution. But at the very least, I think it'll help to provide some context and a little deeper understanding for some of the legal questions that the courts are working through. We're going to look at the current cases of the New York Times v. OpenAI, Anderson v. Stability AI et al., Getty v. Stable Diffusion. We're going to look at precedent for these cases in the Authors Guild v. Google Inc. We will conclude by going through a few high-level takeaways for AI developers, AI customers, and businesses. One case you've likely already heard of that is currently ongoing, at least at the time of recording, is the New York Times v. OpenAI. And in this case, the New York Times has sued OpenAI for what they allege is unpermitted use of Times articles to train their GPT LLMs. The ruling in this case will have implications for artificial intelligence and copyright law, fair use, and how models are built. The core allegation here is that OpenAI is infringing on copyrights through unlicensed, unauthorized use of and reproduction of Times works. The idea here is that OpenAI's large language models sometimes memorize trained data, and that output can regurgitate these articles, in these cases, verbatim. This reproduced content can circumvent the New York Times paywall. For example, if you know how to get a large language model to regurgitate content that it's been scraped on, and let's say that that large language model is updating regularly, well, why would you pay for a New York Times subscription when you can just go to the large language model and have it either regurgitate the content verbatim, or you can have it summarize it for you? New York Times claims that this will threaten high-quality journalism. Again, no need to subscribe to the New York Times, the Washington Post, or any of the other subscription model news outlets when the LLM can either give you that article or can summarize it for you. Another case that you need to know about is Anderson v. Stability AI et al. And in this case, 3 artists are suing multiple generative AI platforms. They're claiming that artificial intelligence used their original works without license to train the AI, and this allows the AI and users of the AI models to imitate their work without permission. Similarly, in Getty v. Stable Diffusion, Getty is alleging that Stable Diffusion violated copyright and trademark rights on a watermarked photograph collection. Precedent that you might need to know about, I'm putting this in here just for a little bit of context, but a previous case that has already been settled is Authors Guild v. Google Inc. Here, the Authors Guild was alleging that Google, in an unauthorized way, had scraped all of its content. Google ended up successfully defending the lawsuit, and the ruling was that Google's scraping of the material was considered a transformative use, and therefore allowed Google to scrape the text from books located on the Authors Guild site in order to create a search engine. Some top-level takeaways here, first for AI developers. Ensure data use is legal and compliant. One way to ensure that your use is legal and compliant is to license data and to compensate intellectual property owners. Also, as we've talked about, best practice is to maintain data provenance and audit trails. Where are you getting the data from? How are you getting the data? How are you transforming it, etc. For AI customers, ask providers whether models have been trained on protected content. Be sure to review the terms of service and privacy policies when using AI, and avoid generative AI that cannot confirm training data. Again, regarding this last point, of course, best to check with your legal counsel. And finally, as for businesses, demand a terms of service and other documentation from generative AI platforms, confirm proper licensure of training data, demand broad indemnification for potential IP infringement, and bar input of confidential information as prompts into tools. In this lecture, we have gone over a handful of case studies concerning conflicts between intellectual property and artificial intelligence. Cases that should be on your radar are New York Times v. OpenAI, Anderson v. Stability AI et al., Getty v. Stable Diffusion. We went over Authors Guild via Google Inc. That one is closed, but provides some precedent for the legality of web scraping. Takeaways for AI developers are ensure data use is legal and compliant, license data and compensate intellectual property owners, maintain data provenance and audit trails. For AI customers, ask whether models are trained on protected content, review terms of service and privacy policies, avoid Gen AI that cannot confirm training data. And for businesses, demand a terms of service and other documentation, confirm proper licensure of training data, demand broad indemnification for potential IP infringement, and bar input by your employees of confidential information into publicly available models.